New XERJOFF Louis XV. I know you've been waiting for it, me too, but there are even more XERJOFF news. XERJOFF Champagne, XERJOFF new sketchbook fragrances, XERJOFF Tarina 24. We'll talk about all of that, but first, Louis XV. Let's take a look, let's discover what it smells like, and if you need it in your life. Spoiler, you do. And by the way, before we start unboxing this, please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything that I'm going to be posting in the future. I'm just starting my YouTube journey. It would mean a world to me. Okay, let's go. Louis XV is going to be part of the Blends collection, and it's a collaboration between XERJOFF and the French champagne house De Venoge. The design of the golden box incorporates the De Venoge crest and the X that stands for XERJOFF. It's golden, it's gorgeous, but let's take a peek inside. Here it is, the blue box. The blue color has not been chosen by accident. It corresponds to the color of the champagne packaging. I'll show you in a minute. Inside, nested like a treasure in this pattern of De Venoge and XERJOFF is the bottle. And here in the top, you see the X and a portrait of, I guess, Louis XV. The gorgeous bottle has the French royal lily printed in gold all over the top side. And as Sergio Momo, the founder of XERJOFF, told himself, he's a big fan of champagne. And in the Blends collection, he's doing artistic collaborations with all types of artisans and artists. So there is collaboration with music, there is going to be a collaboration with food, which now in XERJOFF is going to be something very, very elevated. And now they've done a collaboration with a champagne house because he personally likes champagne a lot. But as an Italian guy, he had certain difficulties incorporating champagne into his perfumes because champagne can only be grown in France. That's why when he met the president of De Venoge, they decided it was time to do something amazing together. And while we might have expected a perfume to come out of the collaboration between a French champagne house and the perfume house of XERJOFF, the unexpected part is that De Venoge created a XERJOFF champagne. Actually, two champagnes, Blanc de Blanc and Rosé. Both are housed in the De Venoge-shaped bottle. I've tried both of them, of course, in Cannes at the XERJOFF party. I love them both, especially Blanc de Blanc. It's so sparkling, so refreshing, so playful. It's fruity, it's elegant, it's a perfect champagne for any celebration. The bad news, you cannot buy it. No money in the world will purchase you a bottle of XERJOFF champagne. That's why I have to drink a different type of champagne. Not bad, but not XERJOFF. The reason? Champagne is something you drink when you celebrate with friends. And Sergio Momo wants it, at least for the time being, to stay something for friends only. So when you come to a XERJOFF boutique, when you stay there, linger, try the perfumes, if there's any kind of special events, they will of course serve this wonderful champagne. But just as friendship cannot be bought, the champagne for the friends also cannot be bought. Which is really a pity, by the way, and I hope one day it will change, but for now, no. What you can buy, however, is this perfume. Louis XV 1722 is dedicated and inspired by the prestige cuvée of the House of De Venoge. That's the very super micro production volume edition of De Venoge Champagne, one of the finest cuvées that they produce. It's only made when the crop is right, only from the finest ingredients, very limited quantities. Also, let's put it that way, not cheap. But it still has some connection to Italy and to Milan, because the founder of De Venoge was actually a Swiss guy, not a French one. And before moving to France, he first spent several years in Milan, where he successfully married the daughter of the Milanese mayor. So together with his beautiful wife, and probably some money that she might have brought into the family, because she came from one of the richest families in Milan, he moved to France and founded one of the first champagne houses in the Champagne region, De Venoge. Let's talk about Louis XV, because he also played a part in the history of champagne and of this perfume. While people have been drinking wine for millennia, champagne is a relatively new invention. It came about thanks to Louis XV, who issued a decree allowing the French winemakers to export their wines to England by ship, not in the wooden barrels like it was done before, but in glass bottles. And while many of those glass bottles exploded during transport, those that arrived revealed something unexpected, because the wine that was stored in them changed during the time of transportation and became sparkling. After this discovery, many generations of winemakers have been working on perfecting this bubbly playfulness, and that's how champagne actually came to be. So Louis XV, 1722. And now the fun part, let's smell it. Let me make one thing clear. This is nothing like the sweet, fruity florals that are sometimes declared as champagne inspired. A lot of perfumes that say they have a champagne note in them are actually a mix of pink berries with something that smells remotely like lemonade. This is not one of them. This perfume is created to simulate the freshness, the sparkling, the bubbles you get when you make a sip of cold champagne. The tingling special sensation that runs through your whole body when you take the first sip out of a champagne glass. Just as classic champagne is not actually a sweet drink and is more about balanced acidity and freshness, this is not your typical sweet perfume. If I had to put it into a fragrance family, I'd say it's a woody floral. I don't know the official notes of this perfume because as I'm filming it, the fragrance has not yet been released. I will tell you what I actually smell with my nose. The start is a burst of light, tart-colored freshness. I smell something like sage and thymian, maybe a little bit of lavender, maybe a tiny bit of juniper. Probably citruses are also at play because they always are, but this is not your classic citrusy fragrance. It starts off as kind of woody, herbal tart, but in a very vibrant, vivacious way. In the middle, I get something softly floral, maybe a little bit of neroli or orange blossom or jasmine. It's really hard to tell because it's so perfectly blended, but it's soft, and the softness reminds me of creamy, soft ice cream. So imagine fresh, light, white florals covered in soft ice cream, or maybe even sorbet. The progression from the hard notes to the base reveals something that reminds me of incense. Incense can be very churchy. This is not that type of incense. As I've learned over the years dealing with perfumes and ingredients, incense actually can be very fresh. Incense can feel citrusy even. And this is this fresh type of incense. It has a tiny smoky touch, which lends it some woodiness, but in its heart, it's a fresh, sparkling, even lemony type of incense, which might sound weird to you without you smelling it, but believe me, it supports this fresh, invigorating, sparkling, vivacious character of the perfume. And since listing the notes alone doesn't really tell you anything about what it actually smells like, let's talk about the vibe. Does this perfume have anything to do with champagne? Yes, but it does not smell like champagne. Instead, it translates this sparkling, invigorating, fresh, celebratory sensation of drinking champagne into the language of fragrance. It's fresh, but it's not citrusy or marine fresh. It's a dry, light, slightly tart, and softly woody type of freshness. Does it feel like a celebration? Absolutely. Does it feel as aristocratic as the name Louis XV suggests? Yes, it absolutely does. On the sweetness scale, it lacks sugar. The only sweetness it actually has is the natural sweetness of the florals that are probably incorporated in this composition. Who is Louis XV for? I'd say it's a perfume that can be worn by any gender. This is right there in the middle, slightly tilting into the masculine territory just because it's not sweet, and feminine fragrances are often associated with sweetness, which is actually also pretty random. You can wear this perfume from morning till evening. It will take you to the office, and it'll also take you to the party because the projection and the sillage are very good, as with all Xerjoffs. Of course, it's not herba pura because it's not going to kick the door open for you before you even enter the room, but it's strong enough to radiate a soft cloud of sillage around you that smells very, very pleasant. On my skin, it lasts for a good 6 hours. If I spray it on my hair, it lasts all day. In terms of mood, it's an invigorating fragrance. So any situation that requires a little bit of energy, this works perfectly for that. You can put it on in the morning and go about your day, business meetings, office, all that. And you can also go to a party with it, but not the Netflix binging on the couch type of party. I mean a real party where people are mingling, talking, dancing, where everybody is dressed well and celebrating. This type of party. And this brings me to the holiday season because I think Louis XV is one of those perfect New Year's Eve scents. I mean, what can be better for a New Year's celebration than a perfume with a lot of party energy that's actually inspired by one of the finest champagnes in the world? Which also means that this works perfectly as a gift to somebody special. I'm wholeheartedly, honestly, I'm not getting paid for it, recommend this perfume. And if you have any of those Xerjoff boutiques near you, go check out their champagne. Now let's move on to other Xerjoff news, because this is not the only new perfume that was presented in Cannes. New Xerjoff perfumes coming out in the coming month. A food-inspired collaboration. I cannot say more at the moment. 3 new sketchbook bottles. Purple Accento. And hear me out, I know it's not new, but it's coming in a new bottle at a new price point, which is very exciting. I've seen them all in Cannes and I have them all here as samples in this little box. So let me quickly tell you about them too. Purple Accento. Not new, but when it came out, the bottle was covered in Swarovski stones, which instantly made it a very expensive fragrance to own. Xerjoff has listened to the fans and decided to release the same scent in a somewhat simpler presentation, which will make it more affordable. Of course, still not cheap, but if you didn't want to splurge on the Swarovski stones, now is your chance to get the scent. Xerjoff will also be releasing a new boutique special. This time, it's going to be one for the newly opened Frankfurt Boutique. I don't know if you've ever been to Frankfurt. I have, although not to the boutique. But Frankfurt is not a city I associate with very pleasant smells. It's a very business vibe kind of city, a lot of banks, a kind of dirty train station neighborhood, but Xerjoff looked past all that and reimagined Frankfurt as a vibrant, beautifully fruity fragrance. I cannot tell you more at the moment. You'll have to visit Frankfurt Boutique to get it, and if you're there, try their champagne. New sketchbook fragrances, P33, which means page 33 from Sergio's notebook. As he told us in Cannes, the sketchbook actually exists. Apparently, it's an old, green, and ugly thing that nobody is allowed to see but him. But the designs it contains are so elaborate and over the top that he needed the company to grow and become more financially stable to be able to actually produce them. The first sketchbook bottle has been out there for several years, so now was the time to move to next pages of the book. This time around, Xerjoff will be releasing 3 bottle designs. They are stunning. I've seen them in Cannes and honestly, I want to have all of them just because of the bottles. The actual juice inside the 3 new bottles will be kind of similar, but a little bit different. So they'll keep the top notes the same, but the base and the heart notes will differ slightly. So every perfume bottle will have its own character. Since Xerjoff went for 3 new designs, the juice inside the bottle will also be colored slightly different, and they have taken the Italian flag, so green, white, and red, as inspiration for the coloring of the juice. The inspiration for all 3 bottles was a visit to Paris. You know that bridge that features in all the romantic movies that is full of locks that couples leave there to sort of lock their love? In these designs, Sergio wanted to find a way to symbolically lock his love for perfume in the bottles. The first one, with the greenish juice, will have a kind of leather lace wrapped around it, or leather bondage, depending on your vibe. The second one, with the juice that corresponds to the white in the Italian flag, will have gold chains wrapped around it with a golden lock. Looks really chic. The third, and in my opinion the coolest one of all, will feature golden barbed wire wrapped around the bottle. And we are talking real barbed wire that can actually hurt you when you touch it. So the box of this bottle will actually contain a warning. But that's the whole idea of the sketchbook collection. The bottles are supposed to be something truly unique, special, that really expresses emotions and that is really artistic. No risk, no fun. At the party, Sergio said that the manufacturing process for the sketchbook bottles is so difficult and complex that for every 2 bottles made, one has to be thrown away because it did not live up to the high standards. As you can imagine, this means that the number of bottles available will be rather limited and they're only going to be sold at Xerjoff boutiques. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments which Xerjoff perfumes you are most excited about and you'd like to try, and I'll see you in my next videos.